For anyone who might bug out over this video, it's from our social studies class. It's not like I have a Mexico fetish or anything, so... Here are some things you probably didn't know about Mexico's climate. Mexico is very warm and humid. The driest areas of Mexico are the northwest and inland northern parts. In the summer, along the coast, it gets really, really humid, like unbearably humid. Some parts of Mexico are tropical. Of course, it's hot in the summer, but north winds make inland northern Mexico so cold that it snows. Oh my god. I'm going to move on to something a little bit more interesting before I have a heart attack and die. I said I was going to talk about something more interesting, but I lied. Forgive me if I have any of my facts wrong. It's just Mexico history bores me, so... The Aztec Empire got conquered by the Spanish around 1520. Spain ruled Mexico for the next 300 years until 1810, when the Mexicans first revolted against them. They got their independence in 1821. Yay! Right after they got their independence, they started building their brand new government, which is, good. In 1836, Mexico lost Texas to the U.S., and then 10 years later, they lost California, and then Nevada, and then Utah, and then Arizona, and then New Mexico. Isn't America just so awful? I mean, no wonder people are so fat. That's karma. And now, you're being exploited on MTV and the Oprah Winfrey Network. That's enough angst for today. I'm going to skip all of that other crap I had, and I'm going to move on to food, because honestly, that's the only thing teenagers really care about. I'm going to start off with flan. Flan is an amazing custard dish that Spain brought to Mexico. That's probably the only good thing Spain did for Mexico. I mean, I don't know, maybe they did good, I just can't get over the fact that they would do that. I can't get over the fact that anyone would do anything to anyone. All we are saying is give peace a chance. There are bunches of ways you can make flan. Like, you can cook it in the oven, you can cook it on your stove. There's some way to steam it, but I don't know how to do that. And you can put it on a board and light the board on fire, and it will cook right on there. Flan is made out of condensed milk and sugar, vanilla, and egg. True story. Mexico's staple foods are corn and beans. Corn is used to make all sorts of things like tamales and tortillas and gorditas. They cook a lot of herbs and spices into their dishes, and chipotle and onions and garlic, which is awesome because those are awesome. Mexico likes grains, especially rice. Because, rice makes horchatas. They have chocolate and vanilla and avocado and guava and papaya and pineapple and squash and sweet potatoes and bell peppers and peanuts and tomatoes and agave and chili peppers and sunflower seeds and turkey and fish and cows and goats and sheep and piggies and wheat and barley, olive oil, and parsley. Parsley is so gross. Mexico has these cute little outdoor market things. They have a name. I can't pronounce it though. Some people think that aliens put these little markets out on the streets, but it makes more sense if they just got up early and put them out there. These little markets, they're like kiosks, and they have all kinds of things like toys and cosmetics and clothing and video games and books. And their main thing is food, because people can go there and buy a week's worth of food for a little bit of money. It's a lot cheaper than going to a regular store. It's like the whole outdoor Walmart of Mexico. Even though they carry all kinds of things, their main thing is food. They have all kinds of things like veggies and fruits and breads and grains and meat. It's not recommended that you eat the meat though. I guess it really depends on the region though, it's like you wouldn't want to buy meat from a bad neighborhood. Don't judge a book by its cover unless it has to do with your family's health. In Mexico, most religious denominations can find a place of worship in the city. Some complain about the lack of Muslim churches though. Jews and Christians are taken care of pretty well though as far as church goes. They got a lot of churches. There are plenty of Catholic and Protestant churches though, being that 90% of Mexicans are Catholics. There's a good amount of Tibetan Buddhists in Mexico because of the fact that Mexico City has one of the 6 Tibet houses in the whole world. Tibet houses were established by the Dalai Lama to preserve the Tibet culture and Buddhism. Like all countries and cultures, Mexico has customs and etiquette. A lot of their customs seem to be similar to ours, but some of them are just pretty weird. When visiting a Mexican's house, you should bring flowers or sweets, like what you would do for a girlfriend. God forbid you bring marigolds or red flowers, though. Marigolds represent death, and red's just negative. If you're invited to a Mexican's house, you should arrive 30 minutes late because showing up on time is just rude. When eating, you should keep your hands visible at all times and your wrists on the table. Only men can give toasts in Mexico. The word machismo literally means masculinity, and men believe that nothing should be allowed to tarnish their image as a man. And if it does, they slap it. Mexico has 68 languages, which are mostly indigenous, so about 7% of the people can speak any of the languages, and those 7% pretty much speak Spanish anyways. Spanish is the official language of Mexico because the Spanish colonizers forced it to be. How rude. By 1990, the Mexican government accepted indigenous languages as languages of Mexico. If I could pronounce even half of the languages, I would, for you, but I can't. So there are these 2 animals that I cared enough about to tell you about, I guess. The first one is Margarita Island kangaroo rat. It's a rodent only found in Mexico, specifically Santa Margarita Island. There's not much to him, but he's so cute. He's endangered because of feral cats and dogs, and I know that it has a lot to do with people cutting down trees and crap. Then there's the axolotl. It sounds really funny. Blah 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 blah. They're water salamanders, and he looks so much like a Pokemon. They're going endangered, but people care enough about them to help them. That's all I really have about Mexico. I mean, I have a lot more, but I don't have a lot of time. So I have to get going into my next place. Now I will teach you about the Caribbean. Woo! The Caribbean includes the Caribbean Sea and all of the little islands that are southeast of the Gulf of Mexico. There are more than 7,000 islands, but only 13 of them are independent island countries. The independent countries include Cuba, Haiti, Jamaica, Bermuda, Dominican Republic, Barbados, and I'm not going to attempt to name the rest because I will fail miserably, but I will put them right here, or here, or here, or here. Everywhere. Most of the Caribbean islands are dependencies or overseas territories of other nations. Pretty much means that the tiny little countries depends on a larger nation like England or the US. A dependent territory is a territory that does not possess full political independence as a state and remains politically outside of the controlling state's area. The UK has some territories, which I will put right here. Then the Netherlands has territories. I'll put them right here. The US has some territories. I'll put them on my forehead, because they don't have very many. In 1492, Christopher Columbus started exploring the Caribbean, which means he was the first European to discover the area. Whoop-de-doo! A bunch of explorers followed Columbus's path, and then came bunches of thousands of settlers from China and Europe and India and all other kinds of places. There were also religious outcasts and pirates, like Johnny Depp. African slaves were imported to the Caribbean to work in the sugar and tobacco plantations. Great military powers continually fought for control over the Caribbean islands, which caused a mix of African and European cultures and languages and eventually transformed the islands into what they are now, one of the largest tourist destinations on the planet. It's kind of horrible, really. The Caribbean may be a very lovely place, but they have their problems too, such as their issue with climate change or global warming. Statistics suggest that each Caribbean island will get hit by a tropical storm at least once every 4 years. As the temperature increases, the ocean waters warm and expand. Glaciers and ice sheets melt and the sea levels rise. Warmer waters tend to fuel stronger hurricanes. Being that the Caribbean deals with enough hurricanes as it is, climate change makes it extremely difficult, causing widespread physical and economic disaster, including many deaths and almost on an annual basis. It can take years for islands' economies to recover from these natural disasters. This is why a lot of Caribbean residents are poor and they have significant debts. The overall population of the Caribbean is 36 million. There are a mixture of European, Dutch, English, French, Italian, Portuguese, and a majority of Africans. Central America is the southernmost region of North America, and it connects North America to South America. Central America is bordered by the Caribbean Sea, Pacific Ocean, and a bunch of inlets, gulfs, and bays. There are 7 countries of Central America: Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. Most of the time the climate is tropical and cool, but the eastern side gets heavy rainfall. Central America doesn't really have winter or summer, but they have rainy season like the Caribbean. The land in Central America is real fertile because of all the volcanoes exploding. And when the volcanoes explode and all the ash goes everywhere, it covers the ground and it turns all of the stuff underneath it into real good fertilizer. I have a lot more information about Central America, but it's kind of boring and lame, and I don't think I have enough time. I hope you enjoyed my video, though. I hope it wasn't too boring. You can't be bored with that face. Look at his face!